How's it going?
Good.
Have y'all seen footage like this before?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does it make you feel generally?
I don't know, like super happy. Just kidding.
Very sad.
Oh, I just want to sleep. And it's really cozy. No, it's pretty fucked up. I've been in a beef plant.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you work there or just
Yeah, I worked there.
for a brief stunt?
Yeah.
How did you, what was your experience like?
Well, I think that there's a lot of regulation in place. And, you know, Tyson, there's some examples, but our company, there wasn't a lot of I mean, a lot of these things that you see are just kind of like the nature of the business, which I don't really like. Which I don't really like. I mean, it's something after I saw it, I was like, wow, that's really awful.
Yeah, a lot of people that haven't worked in the industry, they think that these are just isolated incidents that we're showing. But like you said, these are standard practices that happen every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we show a mix of different farms, like free-range organic farms, stuff like that. I mean, they all get sent to the same slaughterhouse, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of procedures in place I've seen with the USDA to make sure it's done in the most humane of way. But if you're against the killing of animals, there's no humane way to kill animals.
Right.
So I understand the predicament. I am a vegetarian, but after I see these things, I think about it.
At least you realize it's not really, it's kind of an oxymoron, like humane slaughter. Like,
right. And I've been, you know, raised my entire life on meat, so it's really hard to kind of stop at this point and get it other alternatives.
Right.
So.
We all kind of have, I mean, few exceptions. Some people have been born into like hippie vegan families, but most of us out here volunteering are, you know, weren't vegan growing up. Do you think you can justify purchasing these products if you don't, like, morally, it doesn't sit right with you?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of, I guess if you don't agree with it, yet you do it, it's kind of bad faith, right? It's kind of like, well, I'm going to do it anyways, so you didn't kind of do it. But there's a couple philosophers who had ideas. You should look at Spinoza's idea of why we can eat meat.
Interesting. I haven't heard of that. Yeah. What is his reasoning?
It's interesting. He tries to bring it to a logical conclusion how animals don't have the rational ability of human beings, and thus because we are higher on the food chain, then we have the right to eat them as they would eat other animals.
Would you say that some humans don't possess those capabilities either? Like they're to rationalize. People like we wouldn't justify, you know, killing people with severe disabilities.
Right.
So it's like, what's a trait that separates us from animals?
Right.
You know what I mean? That justifies it.
And people say it's like this advanced level of consciousness that we have to analyze the fact that we're gonna, like, I'm dying. Like they say that animals don't have this idea that, like, I'm gonna die. But I do think there's distress and they think something's wrong.
Yeah.
For instance, in chicken plants, what they do before the slaughter process, they have certain light fixtures that make chickens more calm before they go into the slaughter. And they really are a lot calmer. But a human being, you couldn't do that to, really. You know?
Right.
So, I mean...
Well, this is kind of like a bizarre hypothetical, but...
Right.
If there was some alien species that was superior to us in every way, like they were way more intelligent, their technology was like vastly better, and they came to Earth and they started like essentially holocausting human beings.
Right.
And they used the same argument, like, well, you know, like these humans, like they don't have the same capacity for emotion and like reason and stuff, like, because we're not on their level, right?
Right.
Like, would they be justified in doing that?
Yeah, that would really suck. However, I've seen a lot of movies, and I think we would form a coalition.
I don't know, they have better technology. They could wipe us out, right?
Right, but I feel like we would try, and Will Smith would be involved.
Yeah. Well, that's another unfortunate thing is, like, these animals, they're vulnerable. Like, they can't really fight back. We selected them because they were more docile species, but does that justify it? Just because they can't fight us, and they can't, like, they don't have a voice, they can't form like a revolution themselves. Well, it's like have you ever seen Gun, Germs, and Steel? I think so, a long time ago, back in high school.
A lot about the domestication of animals in Europe, and that helped Europe to develop.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I guess, also studies that say the development of the human brain a lot of the ending processes, like from our reptilian brain to where we are now, happen because of the consumption of meat and red meat.
Yeah, I think what it more is calories and like something that's calorically dense in times of scarcity. So like if you look at our anatomy, we're more herbivorous, but like I said, in times of scarcity, we copied what other animals were doing, killing other animals. We started eating meat, which was high source of calories, and that's what led our brains to develop. So if you had planted like grocery stores back, you know, hundreds of thousands of years ago, and they were to only eat plants, our brains could have developed because we were getting like enough calories.
Right, they're like, this is far more convenient
right
than having to attack a saber-toothed tiger with my friends.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, so all in all, is it very disgusting? Yes.
Yeah. And is it necessary?
Yeah.
Do you think there are lots of things that we did in the past that actually like helped us develop? Like, for example, we have done very cruel tests on like both animals and human beings.
Right.
And we learned things from those like very cruel tests that we did on like vulnerable populations of humans. Yeah. So it's like, does that justify what we did just because we like advanced because of it?
I think with the way that the world population is growing at the rate, I think that unless we are all on board with GMOs and make sure that we understand the science behind that and don't have as much fear about GMOs, I think we'll be able to feed the world. But until we get over that fact, being afraid of kind of genetically modifying plants to feed the entire population, we're going to need to use animals. Because animals also, in the production, use a lot of natural resources, right? So it's not just about animals and being cruel, but also us hurting our environment and leaving a footprint.
For sure. But I agree with you to some extent with GMOs, because I think a lot of the fear is slightly unfounded. Right. And like not all GMOs are the same, right? Right. But I think there are environmental issues with genetically modifying crops, like to be pest resistant, and those pests develop like resistance or whatever. Yeah. But aside from that, if we were to go shift to a plant-based diet, we'd be able to feed so many more people. Because we're not using those resources to feed animals, right? It's kind of like
a lot of it's monetary though, too. Like it's harder to get all of the required protein that you need for someone with a lower income. Out of, like, if you go to McDonald's, for instance, you can get a lot of meat for a very low price.
True. Why do you think that is, though?
It's easier. It's just easier to, I don't know.
It's artificially cheap because the government subsidizes unhealthy foods like fast food. So that's why like things like Twinkies and like junk food and fast food are so cheap. Right. And like in food deserts, for example, like some people genuinely don't have the capacity, but we're not really like advocating to those people, because people who are shopping on Pearl Street aren't really living in a food desert. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So like for people who do have the means and resources and go shopping at the same grocery stores that I do, it's very affordable. It just depends on what you're buying. Like, I mean, a sirloin steak, that's pretty pricey, right? Right. Yeah. You're not necessarily going to break the bank if you were to switch to like plant-based alternatives. Right. Like some things are a little bit more costly, but then other things are cheaper. Like beans, rice, bananas, stuff like that is some of the cheapest stuff in the grocery store.
I do believe there is a movement in the meat industry, though, moving towards more humane practices because of what we've been in the oversight. Yeah. And there's like 15 people from the USDA on every line right now to make sure that everything's kosher, when everything's literally kosher. Sometimes when it's halal and that type of meat, but yeah. I totally understand. I guess, really like it, especially after seeing Olivia the pig. She's been watching a pig. Olivia.
Well, it's kind of a sweetheart.
She's sassy. She has a personality. I feel like pigs.
It's really cool. She's very emotional.
Yeah.
You can tell that just interacting with her. She's awesome.
Yeah.
You said earlier that you agree that there's not really a humane way to kill an animal that doesn't want to die.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you feel the same way? Would you be defending the meat industry if you were to replace all those animals with like cats and dogs and monkeys or something? Like, would you be like, you know, they're developing like more humane like regulations, so it's fine. Like,
well, okay, cats, you wouldn't get a lot of yield off of that. You wouldn't get a lot of meat, and it wouldn't be good. It'd be really. Dogs wouldn't be good either. Horse.
They do eat dogs in China, and horse is actually eaten in a lot of parts of the world.
Right, so. It's like chunk meat. Yeah, I don't do it. Yeah, no, so no, I wouldn't. That'd be definitely less, and it'd be more you know, we have more of a human connection with dogs. If I know that I could, if someone asked me like, hey, Connor, you have the power to change this right now, flip the switch, we don't have to kill animals anymore.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Cool.
Yeah, all the meat factories turned down.
Awesome.
Let's replace it. But
what do you think is going to get us there, though?
when the environment really starts feeling the effect, which it already is, but I feel like it's going to be an environmental thing where we're like, okay, we have to do this now.
Yeah.
Well, last-minute culture, unfortunately. Yeah.
Nobody's going to, like, the world isn't going to go vegan overnight, so it's going to be a step-by-step gradual thing.
Right.
But it does take people making individual changes to lead to these, you know, future results that we want to achieve. So, like, we can't all just wait around for everyone else to do it.
Right.
Also, if you were to think back on, like, other movements in the past, like women's rights, civil rights, would you have wanted to be the type of person that was, like, fighting alongside the, like, be an ally to those people, or would you want to be the type of person that was like, eventually we're going to get there, but, like, I don't need to change my habits right now. Like, if I were to press a button, like, sure, I'd want civil rights, but, like, I'm not going to go help fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Point, yeah, if there's a button to stop racism, I'll just
yeah.
I can't do that, so
So we're really just talking to people about these issues because so many people aren't aware.
Right.
And it does take time for you to, like, break down in your head the things that we've been culturally ingrained to believe.
Right. And I've fought with this this hypocritical nature that I possess because I work for a meat company, so I know I've been through the process. I know how it works. I don't really like I would rather meat not be mass produced.
Right.
Like, I'd rather.
Yeah. Well, what's holding you back from, like, making those changes?
It's really nice right now, the job. It's really nice. I'm getting a lot of great experience.
Oh, you're still working there?
Yeah.
Interesting.
In the corporate office. I'm not in.
Oh, okay. So you're not
I'm
actually
disconnected.
in the
I feel like if I saw it every day,
Okay.
I'd be kind of so disturbed that I'd have to leave eventually.
Yeah.
In fact, they pay for therapy for people, not Cargill pays for therapy for people in the box room.
Yikes, yeah, because they suffer from, like, PTSD and stuff.
Right, killing so many animals a day. Some people are really rough like that, but I'd be like, I gotta think. I gotta think about these choices. And they use like a nail gun that just kind of goes out and back in real quick.
Yikes.
And they miss sometimes.
Yeah, it's not a perfect system.
And if they miss, they run back, and the
really
USDA
sad.
shuts down the entire process. So there is like a watchdog, but it's still, there's no humane way to kill an animal.
Have y'all ever heard of the term, I know you've heard of veganism, but have you heard of the term speciesism before?
No.
So it's basically like the principle which veganism is, like, based off of. So like other forms of discrimination, racism, sexism, we're using arbitrary traits that aren't morally relevant to justify mistreatment of one, like, type of whatever. So with racism, you know, of course we're so similar to people of different races, and we focus on the differences, or the racists do at least. And they use those differences to, like, justify being racist. And it's the same thing with speciesism. We should be looking at the similarities that we have with other animals. Of course there's many differences. And we're not arguing for equal rights for animals to humans, because there's a lot.
Opposable thumbs they can't try.
Exactly. But is there a morally relevant difference that justifies such cruel treatment and violating their rights?
And like I said, that philosopher said rationality. Like he was a rationalist, like with Kant and those people. But he was kind of saying they don't have rationality, so they can't. The fact that they can't make choices and aren't conscious of their conscience means that we're above them and can do whatever we want. But it's like, does that mean you can beat your dog? Like, you know, these things. Like,
yeah, especially since it's not necessary.
They said that.
Yeah.
They said that people of different colors were inferior. There were a lot of scientific articles.
It's kind of like we place arbitrary value on certain species or certain races or whatever. It's like, if you think about it, who's to say that, like, we are the inferior almighty species that can just, like, stomp around? Like, does might make right?
Well, until the aliens come that you talk about. Like, shit, wow, we really messed up.
Yeah.
The Native Americans like, ha. This happened to us, you guys.
Well, would you guys consider, after this conversation, going home and watching a documentary or two?
Yes. Yes. I enjoy talking about, like, as I said, I'm not vegan. or
Yeah.
vegetarian at
Yeah.
the moment, but I'm very open-minded about it, and I see the industry, so I know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Thank you for being so open-minded.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I work in the industry. It's going to be a different conversation now.
Yeah. No, it's surprising, like, one of the guys that regularly volunteers with us used to work at a slaughterhouse for 7 years.
Oh, yeah,
and now
see,
he's a
that
vegan
gets-
activist. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Being
was
that
like, I
also
can't
makes you love
do this
unions
anymore.
when you're working on meat.
Yeah.
You're like, I like unions now. I hate
Yeah.
killing animals.
Yeah. But you want to know what got him, what turned him vegan?
What's that?
So his sister showed him this speech. It's called The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. It's on
Okay.
YouTube. It's pretty eye-opening. It's about an hour long. That's what I generally recommend people watch.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like this. We're about ready to go into the float tank at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I knew it was coming up. I'm like, I'm gonna have a lot to think about in the float
Yeah.
tank.
Well, after you guys watch that speech, if you're inspired by it, there's a challenge you can do called vegan22.com.
Okay.
You sign up. It's a 22-day challenge. They say it takes 21 days to break a habit.
Yep.
And it's like an online community. They hook you up with a mentor. They can answer any questions you have, point you in directions, and yeah, give it a try.
McCartney's vegan,
Sweet,
and I fuck
yeah.
with Paul McCartney.
Hell yeah! A lot
I
of
want
really
that to be in
cool
a clip.
celebrities
I want
are.
you to cut that out. It's Paul McCartney's vegan. I saw him in concert, and he's awesome.
You guys are awesome. Have a good day. Enjoy your float tank.
Yo, how when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them, say me no eat no fish, no meat now. How when me eat them, I wonder when me yam. When me tell them, say that I'm a vegan, man. How when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them, say me no eat no fish, no meat now.